Hello and welcome to this edition of Barnstable Today. I'm Len Gobeil. Recently on our sister program, Barnstable This Morning, we had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Mary Tchaikovsky, the superintendent of schools in Barnstable. And the particular topic was about the new educator evaluation format, which will be used in all the schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Dr. Tchaikovsky started out by telling us about the importance of this new evaluation format.
First of all, it's going to really encourage teachers to become more involved in self-reflection and how they evaluate, but more importantly, how they evaluate themselves. But more importantly, Lenny, it's going to have to be tied to some measure of student growth. And what we're encouraging here as part of our Race Top application, we're going to be receiving some money to work specifically on implementing this new statewide educator evaluation framework. And we're forming committees of teachers to ask them to begin to work on developing types of measures that they use to evaluate students and evaluate their learning. So a big part of the new evaluation framework really is going to encourage educators to become more active participants in how they evaluate students. And we're asking teachers to also begin to develop what we call SMART goals, which are measurable and actionable and looks at student growth over a period of time. So it's going to be a shift in our thinking and a shift in how we evaluate each other. And I think it's important to know that I view evaluation as overall improving one's growth, both personally and professionally. So I'm hopeful that, I know I've been meeting with the teachers union here. I met last week with the executive board to give them an overview of our Race to the Top application, and part of that is really getting teachers involved in looking at the new regulation and what impact it will have on them, Lenny.
You are superintendent of the schools of the town of Barnstable, and you're saying to me that you're looking with our teachers, with our unions, on how to make teacher evaluations fairer, make it so that they are more meaningful. Is this same process going on in all the 362 towns in the state of Massachusetts?
Well, I'm hopeful that it is. I was fortunate to be a member of the commissioner appointed a task force back a year ago, and there were 41 members on that task force, which included the Mass Association of School Superintendents, the Mass Association of School Committees, the MTA, the very, very higher education organizations. And what we did was we looked at how we're going to roll this new framework out and what sort of recommendations we were going to be giving to the Board of Education. So tomorrow I'm actually going to be attending a meeting in Marlborough with Carla Baer, who is the Associate Deputy Commissioner, and I've been asked to sit down with her and some other stakeholders in looking at how we're going to roll this out to districts across the state. So I feel very fortunate to be a member of that committee, as well as the task force that really looked at teacher and educator evaluation. And this includes everyone, not just teachers, but principals, superintendents, everyone. It's not exclusive just to teachers.
So it's more, your goal, I would assume, from what I think I hear you say, your goal is more than just, as it happened when I was teaching, that the principal or assistant principal would come in your classroom 3 times a year and say, all right, that's good. Where's your lesson plan? Yep. All right. That was good. Yeah, you asked that kid a question. Or, oops, you forgot to ask that kid a question, or something along those lines. It's a more improved, better evaluation format.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say that, as a superintendent who's been doing this for the last 9 or 10 years, I'm responsible for signing off on teacher evaluations. And, I think, one issue is the capacity issue. You have, for example, a high school principal with 120 teachers that he or she must sign off on. And you're right. How can they absolutely be meaningful in a way that gives teachers meaningful feedback to improve their teaching and learning? I think it's very, very difficult. I think it's an antiquated system. I don't think it provides meaningful feedback. And I think this new framework really is going to engage teachers. They're also encouraging distance to look at what's called PAR, P-A-R, which is peer assistance review, whereby you engage teachers with one another to talk about their work, talk about their practice, to look at student work and assess how they assess students and see if it's working. And so that's another piece, I think, of the evaluation system whereby it encourages teachers to go and observe other teachers, look at how they're teaching a particular standard and whether they are teaching the standard that way, and then looking at the results, developing common assessments. So I'm a teacher, you're a teacher, we're both teaching math, and we develop a common assessment. We go in, we assess our students, we teach that standard, assess our students, and then come back and look at the student work. How did they do? Were we effective in teaching that particular standard? So I'm really encouraged by this new framework, and it is going to be a very big shift in how we evaluate and how we improve. But I think it will provide some meaningful feedback.
I was reading the Boston Globe yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to read it. There was a very interesting article in there about the MCAS results. And the premise of the article, and I don't remember who wrote the article, but the premise was that we're still rather behind in some of our poor communities. And I don't mean to pick on any cities, but I would imagine that, and I come from New Bedford, so I could talk about the city of New Bedford and Fall River and Lowell Lawrence, and I'm sure Holyoke is up in there too, because the economic conditions in those towns are perhaps not as good as they are in some of the other communities across Massachusetts, that those kids are still not doing very well in the MCAS results. And so hopefully with this new educator evaluation framework system, that might help to bring up those scores because you're putting everything back on the teacher, whereas probably where it belongs.
Absolutely. And, when I look at the old, and I did get a chance to see the No Child Left Behind article in the Globe, and to be able to expect that all students would be proficient by 2014 on a single measure, of one statewide assessment, I think is an unrealistic expectation. I think it's been good, the new system of accountability. It's helped districts to really reflect on how they teach and how they assess students. But I think teachers need to look at multiple measures of growth. It's just not one single indicator, which is one test. I think there's a variety of ways to measure student growth, and I'm hopeful that this new framework will in fact do that.
Let's talk about the race to the top. The race to the top is something that is going on, and we're trying to make all of our students be the best that they can. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Excuse me. Make them the best that they can be.
Absolutely. Make them the best that they can be, Lenny. And Barnstable here was fortunate to be able to receive approximately $500,000 in Race to the Top funding. And Dr. Grenier wrote the year one of the grant, which was last year, and we were able to expend some money in that grant and working on sending some of our teachers to math content coaching and really looking at aligning our curriculum grades K to 8. And with the remainder of that money for the next 2 to 4 years, one of our projects is implementing a new framework for evaluation. But in addition to that, we're really looking at aligning our curriculum to the math curriculum frameworks and forming committees of teachers once again to look at literacy, look at writing across the curriculum.
We want to thank Dr. Chakowski for taking the time to talk to us on Barnstable Today. For Barnstable Today, I'm Len Gobeil.